Associates.
Welcome to Inspiring Hope with Lois Herman, a leading expert in professional coaching, clinical hypnosis, and energy clearing. Lois is an award-winning author of Chronicles of Hope. She has decades of experience in advanced hypnosis techniques, has conducted highly effective success coaching programs that have helped clients discover ways to achieve success, empower themselves, their families, as well as holistic practitioners to expand their practices. Get ready to be empowered with your host, Lois Herman.
Good morning and welcome to Inspiring Hope. I am your host, Lois Herman, and I hope to inspire you with positive messages and celebrate everyday people who are making a difference in our world. When we focus our thoughts and energies on what we love to do, we create powerful shifts that cause us to be more positive and more peaceful. As we lift our energy, we empower everyone around us. If we each do what we can to make small shifts in awareness, from kindness to healthy habits and simple happiness, we create ripples of hope. Join us as catalysts for positive change for our families, our communities, and our world at large. I hope you're inspired by today's show. And today, we have some special guests. We have a special guest. But before Kent comes on, I want to ask you, it's the beginning of the new year. Welcome. How are you doing this new year? Are you staying true to the intentions that you set? Are you keeping in balance? And it's interesting because here we sit in New Hampshire where normally we have 20, 30 degree weather, and it's 60 degrees out there. The snow from November, December is all melting, and this feels like spring. I actually heard a little boy say the other day, "Mom, this feels like November. What's going on?" So, this is a good time to get outside and maybe take your Christmas decorations down, but some people like me leave them up for a little while. But now that we're past the swing, the busy of the holidays, we're getting into a whole new busy of catching up with. Some of us have had a little break over the holidays, so now it's getting back into the swing of things. So take your time to get back and enjoy. As the sun starts shining a little bit longer, we are using the sunlight hours to inspire ourselves with fun things to do. And as you're working on your intentions, remember last time I talked about physical, mental, and spiritual intentions. So for the physical, what are you doing around your home? What are you doing for your health? Are you choosing to get away from all those sugars from the holidays? Are you doing a little bit more stretching because you're sitting at desks all the time? And what are you doing to get organized? So one of the things that I like to do for the physical in the wintertime is to do a little bit of organizing, clearing some of the clutter, clearing out the closets and giving what no longer suits you or fits you, giving it away. Take it to Goodwill, take it to some place that you can give what you no longer need, because one man's trash or giveaway is another man's treasure. You never know how that's going to help someone else. And the other thing from the physical that I have to shine a little spotlight on, my husband and his family, his children and his siblings all send thank you notes. When's the last time you wrote a thank you note? I think that is such an admirable thing to do because we receive all these gifts and things at Christmas and we say thank you at the time, but taking just a moment to sit down and write a little note and put it in the mail is expressing, it's taking that kinesthetic anchor, writing down the thank you, and then what do we receive in the mail? Mostly it's bills or periodicals or something. It's a real treat to get a little thank you note in the mail. It doesn't even have to be anything big or fancy, just a little, "Hey, thanks, I was thinking of you, and I really enjoy what you gave me." So think about that. That's an old lost custom that I think it'd be nice to bring back. Just shining a little light that makes those little sunshine, little sparkles of difference make a big difference in everyday world. And then when you think about the mental, the relationships, what are you doing? My I've had some visitors over the holidays, and even a couple of days ago, Kurt's son was in, and we played a game. I love to play Mexican Train. So it's nice to just clear the table, clear all the busyness. Don't turn on the TV. Let it rest, and play a game. Pull out one of those old game boards and just interact with someone, because in that interaction, you actually have an opportunity to ask questions or really get to just experience the energy of the other person. It's a simple thing to do. We all have old games. Pull them out. There's actually a restaurant in Manchester. Did you guys know this? On Main Street of Manchester, and I forget what it's called, but it's all about playing games. You go in there, there's a big long wall of board games that you can pull out, and people are all sitting around tables playing games. So let's resurrect that one-to-one connection with people. And then, of course, there is the spiritual, that quiet time, that heartfelt time where you connect with another person. And one of the things that happens around this time, holidays are over, people are starting to get more introspective, more quiet. Some people get a little depressed. Did you know that just the act of looking up changes your endorphins? It does. When you're down, you're depressed, you look down, you're sluggish, you're thick. When you actually look up, even if the sky is kind of overcast, just if you look up, it shifts the endorphins in your body and causes a little rush of energy. So if you're starting to feel a little down or discouraged, take a moment and look up. Look at the birds, look at the clouds, look at all the trees and all of their beautiful glory without the leaves on them. They have such gorgeous structure. So look up, and that will shift your energy, because we are energetic beings, and we're here to help each other stay more positive. That's the whole goal. So tell me, what would you like to create during these quiet days of winter, these times when we are inside? This is a great time, as I said, to clear the clutter from your closet, from your drawers, organize your drawers. One of the things that my husband inspires me. He pulls out, this is the time of year where he'll pull out taxes from 10 years ago, all of the paperwork, and he'll go through and get rid of, and he finds interesting tidbits from 10 years ago. So he shreds all the old and makes way for new, because you're supposed to keep your paperwork every 10 years. So it's about clearing the clutter in our drawers, in our paperwork, and in our closet. So we're inside. It's a good time to clear the clutter, and as we clear, we make way for new. We make way. If we get too much stuck in our mind and in our hearts and in our environment, there's no room for more. So it's important to take this time to clear the clutter, clear what is no longer needed in your life, shred it, throw it away, or give it away. So this is also a time to think about what you're going to do for the new year. If you're a gardener, get out your books. Start planning. Keep your mind active for what you'd love to plant in the new year. Make some plans. It's not about, oh, I'm so sad there's nothing to do. I thought we were talking a minute ago about Facebook, and there's a lot of great things on Facebook, and sometimes you can get kind of sucked into it. But someone posted yesterday that, oh, it's so sad, I have to take my Christmas decorations down. And my response was, why? Why do you have to? Who said? What is the rule that says you have to take your Christmas decorations down? I have been known to turn my Christmas tree, seriously, into a Valentine's tree. I will leave it up until I'm ready. So who says you have to take it down? If it gives you joy, if it turns the corner of your mouth up, like Rumi says, embrace it. There's no rules. You set your rules. And there's also some things that I've noticed on Facebook that are very important. People are reminding us of some things that have happened, some tragedies that have happened. Our whole world, America, is built on conquest and victories, which people celebrate. I tend to like to think about the victims and what happened to them. And so there's a lot of good on Facebook, a lot of good reminders, and those when people talk about the massacre at Wounded Knee, when people talk about the Holocaust, it's very sad to see what happened. However, it's a good reminder of what not to be. It's a good reminder of what our humanity, what civilization is based on, and how can we change? How can we avoid that in the future? How can we set our intention to be better than we were, to embrace all of the good things in our world? So they say that you can't have love without hate, because it's a balance. It's that shadow and the light. And the hate shines the light on what you want to have. Because when you have hate, when you have anger, when you have fear in your heart, you feel it. It affects your energy. But it's a contrast. You can then tell what you choose. When you feel that in your heart, that's oftentimes an awakening. It's a time of saying, okay, this doesn't feel good. What do I choose? What do I consciously choose to shift to? What thought, what emotion, followed by action. You can't just sit there and ruminate over it. You've got to think about it, make a plan, take an action. And it's in the action, just like writing a thank you note. It kind of gives you a little tickle in your heart to send that because you know that somebody's going to get that. It's just simple little things that we can do to shift our awareness. And we can get inspired by nature. Even while we're inside, we're planning for our gardens, what we're going to do in the spring. Take a moment to look at the birds. We get to feed the birds now because, I don't know about you, but I have a bear that comes in my yard. And he's kind of cool to watch, but he just mauls those bird feeders. And then my husband grumble as he puts them all back together. I love to watch the birds. And I also have to pay attention to where it's not fair to feed the bears. So they're hibernating, unless they come out today because it's 60 degrees. But feed the birds, watch the birds, and enjoy their antics and their beauty and their color and all that they bring to us. And take a moment every morning to say good morning to the day. My husband caught me the other day before I got in my car. I walked outside with my arms open and said, good morning, Earth. Good morning, Gaia. Good morning, sunshine. Even in the rain, good morning, rain that's peppering this earth. And send the rain to places that need it, like Australia, asking the rain, please go and share a little rain with them. So if you just take a moment every morning, it doesn't have to be a few seconds, and set your intention for the day by gratitude. Thank you for the beauty, the place that I live, the home, the family, the friends. Thank you for my health. It doesn't have to be a structured prayer. Just go out and connect and feel the joy that is all around us. And the more we feel it, the more we amplify it. Because what you appreciate grows. What you depreciate dies. So go out there in the morning and breathe the fresh air. Start your day with gratitude. And also, thinking of gratitude, think of a friend that you'd like to share gratitude with. Reach out, call them, touch their hearts. Maybe they needed an uplifting thought. If you think about them in your mind, that's because you need to reach out to them. You are listening to Inspiring Hope with Lois Herman. This is WSMN 1590, and I hope you'll return with us when you get to meet a very special person. And good morning. Welcome to Inspiring Hope. I'm your host, Lois Herman. This is WSMN 1590. You can reach me at loisherman.com and chroniclesofhope.net, and all of my different social accounts are there. And I want to invite you to listen in on a wonderful conversation with a very, very dear friend who inspires me. Kent Buschle is dedicated to honoring the native ways. Kent, welcome to our show.
Great to be here.
It's so good to have you. And I was just talking about my simple habit of going out and greeting the world with my arms in the morning, and you at this little break. Please tell us what you said.
Well, it's a long story as to how I got involved with the Native American culture, but one of the things that you would do, not only in Native American culture, but all cultures that are earth-based cultures around the world, the idea is to get up in the morning and greet the sun coming up. In the Native American culture, it's called the East Door, but that represents new beginnings for us. And so you're greeting the sun and you're saying, help me today to be happy, help me to help another, help me to help Mother Earth. So you go out and raise your arms and say what you just said, and I think to myself, instinctively she knows to do, face the east and say hi.
And that's exactly what I'm doing, because where I stand in the morning, I'm looking at the sun coming up.
Right.
And I do have some native blood in me, so there must be, and I know I have some native past life in me, so I instinctively, I know it feels right. It just feels right. So thank you for that affirmation. That is so precious. So tell us a little bit about your story, Kent.
Well, I know it's important that people listening know who I am, and so I'll talk a little bit about who I am, but I only want to talk a little bit about who I am. So anyway, I grew up in Cincinnati, Ohio, up until 5th grade, one of 5 kids. We moved to Detroit in 5th grade, and I went 10th grade in Detroit. My dad moved again in 10th grade, and we moved to Albany, New York. I graduated college in Albany, New York. I got married in Albany, New York. I spent some time in Syracuse and went back to Albany, New York. That's where both of our families are from, my wife's family and my family. And I grew up in sales out of college. I got into sales management, moved here, moved to Windham, New Hampshire, which is where I've lived for a long time now, since 1989. Have a couple kids. They're now wonderful young adults. They both have their own houses. They're both married. I love them to death. They're my best friends. And then continuing on, I'm really the message and the reason I'm here is because we know each other because of something that happened to me back in the mid-2000s. And that was, so life was good then, but I was what I would call unconscious. Raising a family, working long hours, mowing the lawn, vacuuming the pool, being a dad, being a husband, but I was unconscious. I wasn't... There was a piece of me that was missing, and I went through some trauma. I went through some pain and suffering in the mid-2000s, and there was a light that sort of resonated inside of me that said, it got me to thinking, like, who am I? Like, what's my purpose? Like, what is life really all about? So I started to read a bunch of books, Wayne Dyer and Eckhart Tolle, and on it went, the Bhagavad Gita, the Bible, etc. So I began to what I would call awaken. And at the time I was going through pain and suffering, it wasn't a good time, and I didn't see that there was brightness at the end of it, as most of us don't. We're going through pain and trauma and suffering. But today I view it as a blessing. And as I look around the people that I tend to hang around with today, people who are more spiritually oriented or happy sort of people, I found that most of them went through pain and suffering and some amount of trauma. And so today I look at it as a gift, just a tremendous blessing that I was able to sort of awaken, sort of like, what is this all about? So that led to one thing after another. I learned how to meditate. I figured out that life is about being happy, and I sort of plateaued in my development, my spiritual development. Wasn't going too much further. I mean, I had gone way beyond where I ever was in the first 45, 50 years of my life. But so I started to say, I need a guide, I need a guru, I need someone to sort of bring me along, I need an elder, and I didn't know that it was Native American. But I've always been interested in the culture. There was to me it seemed like there was a way of being of that culture. And in full disclosure, I'm not Native American. I have I'm Euro-American. But the culture, and maybe I was a Native American in an earlier life, to your point, and I now know that I was based on other things that have happened to me. But having said that, I asked around and found that there was a Native American healing circle being held in Boscawen on Friday nights, and I just went. My spirit moved me. I needed to go. I needed to figure out what it was all about, and I loved it. I left the circle on a high for days. It just was really cool. And so I went back, and I got to meet some people, and one of those people.
Oh, yes.
And They sort of led me along and helped me with the Native American culture, the ways, the ceremony, what it's all about. And that led to another awakening for me, and that led to me holding my own Native American healing circles today. And that led me to happiness, and it led me to a whole awareness as to what life is really all about. So that, in a nutshell, is who I am, Lois. There's a lot more to it, but
I
that's
know. Could you tell us a little bit more about the healing circles? What does that mean?
So circles, being together with a group of people in a circle where one person talks and the others listen, is not new news to Native American culture. The circles have been, that sort of process has been held around the world for thousands of years. There's a healing part to the healing circle, to the talking circle. And what you do is you just come in and there's ceremony involved, and you sit down and one person talks at a time.
Well, there's a talking stick too. I've attended some in the past, and I know that the talking stick is when somebody finishes their talk, nobody interrupts, everybody just listens, and then it's passed on to another person. But you shared something with me the other day that I didn't realize, that it's not just about listening. There's more to it than just listening.
Yeah, when someone talks to you, many people have a tendency to want to think about what they're going to say in response. Yes. In a circle, you have an active role in listening. And that active role is to know that we are all one in the circle. There's no one above us. There's no one below us. Spirit is with us. Spirit is in us. Spirit is all around us. Our ancestors are at that circle. Sometimes it's palatable. You can feel the energy in the room. And the role of the listener is to listen to the talker and to figure out if the talker needs prayers or energy. Right. And then we, as a listener, give that energy and love and prayer to the talker. Right. So that, I've seen miracles happen in circles. I've seen people come in with emotional issues, mental issues, intellectual issues, physical issues, and certainly spiritual issues, looking to connect with something bigger than us. And I've seen people magically transform themselves. In the paper this morning, it was interesting. In the Union Leader this morning, I was reading about police officers and first responders in general. But do you know that? And unfortunately, this is what they said in the newspaper anyway, that more police officers die from suicide today than they do on the job.
That is heartbreaking.
And what they found is that when you bring first responders into a group of peers, into a circle situation, and have them talk,
exactly,
which is nothing more than an AA meeting, or an Al-Anon meeting, or any time a group of people, like-minded people, can get together and sit in a circle and talk, something magical happens. And in the Native American ceremony, it's not just, hi, how you doing? Okay, I have the stick, I'm going to talk. There's ceremony involved. There's the things that happen in a circle to lead up to the beginning of the first person talking is ceremonial in nature, to the point where you're very present. And in the present moment, that's the only moment where life exists. And it's the only moment where happiness exists. It's the only moment where awareness exists. And so when we do ceremony and we do some certain things, we're present, and we're all equal in the room, and spirit is with us. And so what do? We get healed. You say, what? So what do? We get healed. We get happy. We go away, and we're just raring to help somebody else. That's what the circle does.
It touches your heart.
It does.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. And you're, for the reader, the listener, you're listening to Inspiring Hope with Lois Herman, and I'm speaking with Kent Buschle. And Kent, you have your own healing circle that you lead. Can you tell us a little bit about when and where that is?
Well, third Sunday of every month at 3 o'clock at the Heart Song Healing Center in Hooksett.
Okay.
All are welcome. You could, find, you could go to Sacred Healing Circle on Facebook and join the group. I don't know, there's maybe 50 members of the group now and growing. And follow your spirit, follow your heart, follow your intuition. If you feel like you need to come, by all means, come.
You also said that you'd be willing to go if people have a group of people that are gathering regularly. You could come and you could teach or host or share a circle with them.
I'd love to do that. If anyone in the listening audience has a group of people or even wants to try it and get 5, 6, 7 people together at your house or at a meeting place, have at it. Give me a call through Lois, through this show. Be more than happy.
And in the summertime, it could be outside.
Yep.
Yeah, where you're really surrounded by nature and enjoying all of the beauty. Because that's a lot of the Native culture is based on honoring our earth, is it not?
You know, the answer to that question is yes. People who grew up in the culture, and in particular before white man, I have found, and again, full disclosure, not Native American, but have studied it, have lived with it, have participated in many ceremonies, to include sweat lodges and naming ceremony, pipe ceremony, etc., Sundance. There's a way of being of people who were living on the earth and with the earth, and that way of being included. We have a spirit in us, but so does everything else.
Absolutely.
To include Mother Earth. The strong in it, belief is one thing. It's like I can believe that if I put my hand on a hot, burning, red hot stove, I'm going to get burned. But unless I've done it, I can only believe it. But if I've done it, I now know that my finger's going to get burnt. And I did that as a little kid, even though my mom told me not to. So anyways, long short is that when you immerse yourself with Mother Earth and enjoy her beauty, and you can feel her energy, there's no question about it. And the belief or the knowledge base, I would say the way of being, the knowledge base with the Native American culture was that she is alive, she is spirit, she is real. And we, as what I would call Euro society, Euro-American society, sort of have. It's like, she's here to please us, and we're here to take from her. Whereas in cultures that were earth-based cultures,
Correct.
And not only Native American,
Right.
but earth-based cultures, they knew that we were here to serve her.
Absolutely.
We were here to help her. We were here to view her as a sacred entity and to help her grow and to help her help us.
Right.
And spirit was in everything. In that culture, spirit was in trees, spirit was in the grandfather stones, spirit was in flowers, certainly in the winged ones and the crawling ones and the walking ones,
and in the water. I mean, if you think
And
about the power of Mother Nature, Mother Earth, who is called the spirit of Mother Earth, is often referred to as Gaia, and there is no one more powerful. If you want to think about the power of a tornado or a hurricane, that would be Mother Nature in her fury, right?
Yeah, we just need as a culture, we as a culture need to begin to switch our mindset from she's here to please us and we're here to take from her to we are here to help her.
Absolutely.
And there's so many things that we can do to bring community together in Nashua, right here in Nashua. Groups of people can get together and plant trees. Groups. I mean, there are people out there. There are good people.
Oh, there's so
many.
many.
We read about, what do we read and see on TV when we're watching the news? It's all bad stuff, right? And so we're led to believe that this is just a terrible place, and there's a bunch of bad people. But the reality is, my experience has been there's a lot of really good people. In fact, there's probably most people are just good people.
Absolutely.
And if we can get away from our cell phones and our laptops and technology and trying to create community within Facebook and Twitter and other things where we, as opposed to getting together in a community, in a group of people that are like-minded, not only can we heal Mother Nature, but we can heal ourselves.
Absolutely,
just by interfacing with one another.
And there's a lot of good with some of the social media. People do stay more connected with it. There are a lot of really great posts. I just saw something from Julia Roberts. I don't know whether you saw it. I reposted it on my Facebook feed yesterday. But she is narrating a beautiful, beautiful visual story about Mother Earth and about her power, and that she doesn't really need us. she has survived without us before, and that we need to start paying attention. It's very, very well done. Of course, it's Julie Roberts, and it's beautiful. It's two very powerful, beautiful women. She is representing Mother Earth and how we must come together to honor our earth in order to take care of her, because she's going through some changes, and most of those changes are our fault. So we can shift by honoring her and honoring each other, getting rid of the greed and the hate and the anger, and celebrating each other. Many times, as you were saying, there's so many good people, which is why I decided to have this show. I watch the news and it's all negative, and I'm thinking to myself, there are so many good people out there. Why are we watching something that's negative? So it's because, for whatever reason, the media tends to sensationalize to all the negative, and people are longing to listen to the negative, and I don't understand why. So we're looking to shift to shining the light on the positive. And so that's part of what we're doing here, is you are sharing all of the, your story. Most of us have been through that, what's called the dark night of the soul. When you go so low, the only place to look is up. And then we find paths, because they're there if we should look for them. They're there for us to find. And there are people, I can't even speak about all of the wonderful people that have been in my life when I was going through dark times, that were there to help me. And one introduced me to Native American culture probably 30 years ago. I attended circles, I went to powwows, and just felt that deep connection. And it started me, it was a part of my journey. So I thank you for continuing this in a really strong way.
When I belong to a number of different faiths, over the years now, as I've sort of awakened, and I don't know if that's the right word, but I have a strong sense now about what life is all about who I am and what my purpose is. And so I belong to a number of different spiritual groups on Facebook, and I don't post. Every now and then I'll respond back to somebody who has a question if I think I can help. But the point is that more and more I'm seeing people pleading for Mother Earth, and we need to stop the plastic stuff, and we need to plant trees, and on it goes. But there's a consistent thread, was we have to save Mother Earth. And the reality is Mother Earth is going to exist.
Absolutely.
She's going to miss her children.
Right.
We are her children.
Exactly.
And she's going to miss us. Mm-hmm. We don't have to save Mother Earth. All of this is about saving humanity.
Exactly.
That's what this is all about, saving us.
And you're exactly right. And that kind of leads into my next question you were very instrumental in helping with edits on the Chronicles of Hope project. I love the fact that you're very detail oriented. When I first approached you about helping to be one of the reviewers on this, it's been over a year ago, about a year and a half ago, wasn't it? And can you tell us a little bit about your involvement? Because you've been with me from the beginning of Team Hope. You are an active member of Team Hope, and I'd love for you to share how you became involved.
You and I met at a BNI meeting in Nashua, and there was a connection. I felt a connection. I felt a resonance. I've sort of learned, as I've evolved to the understanding that I'm here as a human being only temporarily. Mm-hmm. People ask me who I am. I know this may sound crazy to some that aren't at sort of where I'm at now. But I view myself as a spirit having a very temporary human existence, not a human having every now and then a spiritual existence. But the point is that I've learned that life is about, I'm here to learn. Mm-hmm. I'm here to learn and experience, mm-hmm. and I'm here to change if I need to change. My spirit knows what's best for me, my spirit, who I really am, mm-hmm. who we all really mm-hmm. are. And I've learned that happiness is the end state of what everything is all about. Mm-hmm. And so I don't watch a lot of news anymore because it doesn't make me happy. Exactly. And I don't tend to hang around people that don't make me happy. Mm-hmm. People that are constant complainers, they drain me. I just don't want to. I just want to be happy. Mm-hmm. And it made me happy to be around you. And it made me happy to read the manuscript. And it made me happy to say, I think, Lois, if I was you, I might make this change, or I might make that change, which I did a lot of, maybe to your consternation.
Oh,
but
no, it was wonderful.
But it was fun doing it, you
Yeah.
know, and I learned a lot
Yeah.
from it. You know, given that I'm sort of open now, open to things that maybe I know what I believe, but I've learned that beliefs could be disproven. And I've learned that knowledge is really where it's at. So, and where does knowledge come from? It comes from experience. So I've learned that if I believe something, like let's say I get bent. Somebody does something to me and it bends me the wrong way. I get angry. I get whatever it is that I get. You know, we can go through all of the emotions that we as human beings experience. But I've learned that okay, so how does that make me feel? So just to stop for a minute, like I'm not feeling right. Why am I? And I can guarantee it goes back to something that happened to us in childhood. I guarantee it goes back to childhood. We were raised by, I'm going off in a tangent here. Let's get back to the book.
And that's a lot of what I do with hypnosis. As
Right.
you're listening to WSMN 1590. I'm Lois Herman, and you're listening to Inspiring Hope. And as a hypnotist, that's exactly what I do. I had to help people to go back to see, where does that icky feeling come from? And many, many times it comes from something that happened. People will go all the way back to in utero and have memory, and we can't change the past, but we can change how we feel about it. So I help people to shift that in the subconscious mind, and you were able to do that also through your power of intention, through what you have discovered in the native circles.
Yeah, you know, we sometimes think our feelings are bad. The reality is our feelings are the only thing that we have as a human being that does not lie to us.
You're exactly
So
right.
if we can get in touch with our feelings and try to go back to, why am I feeling this way? So let's get back to the book. So what was interesting as I was going through the book, and I don't know how many times I read it. You know, I've read it a bunch, right?
Yes.
And in every iteration, I read it again. Yeah, that sounds good. That sounds better, etc. I found that the book was actually resonating. It was actually, I don't want to say it was vibrating so that it was bouncing around on the table, but there's something magic. There's something in the book, and I now have read a couple of chapters of the new book, and there's something really important
Yes.
for us human beings that have come through, you know, Gary, in this book, and it's really important for us. But I've heard stories where, like, somebody else was reading the book and they set it down, and their cat would just magically go and sit down on the book.
Yeah,
You
Liz
know,
was talking about that last week, and you
There's
didn't even
something
hear
about this book,
Yeah.
you know, and so it made me feel good. The answer is that's my involvement. The book makes me feel good. I've learned a lot. I've learned about the universe. It's just all good stuff.
Yes, and you also helped me with one of the things that I think it was your suggestion. Why don't we include some quotes in the book? And I attribute you to that. So you actually went through and pulled out a lot of Native American quotes, and I had other quotes. So we have inspiring quotes that we were intent on keeping true to the words that came through. Yet we also needed to explain some of these words, because you, with your Native American knowledge that you've grown with over the years, you have a new understanding than if someone were to talk to you about Native American, say, 10 years ago, you wouldn't have known. So with this book being this new this awakening awareness, we had to do some explanatory pieces, and that's where we were making some of the changes. We were keeping very, very true to the words that came through. But we added things like the quotes, and you had so many beautiful Native quotes that were used in that book, and already pulling them out for this next one, the ones that I didn't use.
It's interesting. You say that I pulled the quotes out. So here's the reality. The Anquietas came through, and other entities, higher level beings, have come through. And all I did was say, wow, this is really important. Pay attention to this one. What got my attention, much of it did, but what really got my attention was the fact that there are many entities that come through in the book, and they talk about, you know, like, who is God? You know, who was Jesus really? You know, who, and who is Archangel Michael, and who is this spirit, and what happens, to us when we die. Well, they talk about cultures in the
Right.
book, and in a number of different chapters, they said, the Greeks kind of had it right, and the Romans kind of had it right, and the Euros had it all, like, they didn't have it too close to reality. But the group of people that had it closest were the
Exactly.
Native Americans.
That's right.
And that came out in a number of different chapters. And the whole idea that we are all one, we are all
Absolutely.
connected, we are all an energy source. We are all vibration, vibrate at a higher level. You can get to a different sort of dimension if you can get high enough, and treat each other well. And one of the things that came out, which got me going on, years ago, I ran Native American healing circles, but not in a way of understanding that I have today. But long short is I stopped doing them because life got in the way. I got real busy doing other things. But in the book, loud and clear, human society needs to get back together, face to face, share their feelings, share their healing with each other, share their belongings, share their stuff. And that's what the circle is. And so I started
Exactly.
running because of the book. I got a message like I felt it. It's like, oh, I need to get back and start running circles again. So that's how that all started.
Yeah. One of the other things that you've mentioned before is that civilization is measured by ethics and morality, not by the goods that they create. And that comes through very strongly. And getting back to ethics and morality, when we listen to all the political mess that's going on, you don't know who to believe. It's so tainted by people's greed and power and control and drama. If we get back to simply honoring each other and coming from a place of honesty and integrity, it will shift everything, everyone, to the positive.
Yeah, many of the messages that come through in the book, many of them aren't new news.
No.
Jesus said it.
Yeah.
It's in the Bible. It's in the
Absolutely.
Bhagavad Gita.
Yeah.
It's in things in Egyptian, some of the stuff we read about the Egyptian culture. But they're saying it again, and they're saying we, the U.S., today we can affect only what we have around us, right? And we can only affect our own thinking. But we need to get back to sharing our feelings, sharing our hope, sharing our compassion with each other in a face-to-face situation, not on Facebook or Twitter. And we need to understand that it's not about what we have. It's not about how much we can make and sell and have and money. That's not what being a human really is all about.
And that's what's causing so much stress.
Yep.
People needing to do and have. And it's like the person who, I have to take my Christmas tree down and it makes me so sad. Who said?
Why?
Why? Leave it up if you love it. Leave it up. Change the ornaments, make it because the Christmas tree truly came from native cultures. It was from the Druids, honoring nature. It was adopted and adapted into Christianity. But who says you need to take those things down? Do what gives you joy.
You just said the magic word. Do what gives you joy.
Right.
I say it in a different way. If it makes you happy, do it. And trust what's inside of us. We know.
Right.
We came into this human existence for a reason. We know what's right. We know what makes us feel good. And if it makes you feel good to hold a door for somebody, or if it makes you feel good to send a thank you letter for a Christmas gift, I guarantee it will make you feel good.
It does.
That's why we're here. We're here to feel good.
That's right.
We're here to be happy.
We're here to experience all the wonders of this beautiful planet we have.
That's right.
And celebrate and enjoy each other. And it's uplifting. And one of the things that you said to me the other day, feelings don't lie. That's the spirit communicating through you. And oftentimes it's like you get this gut feeling. People talk about the gut feeling. Well, that's your body saying, what is this?
If you're angry, if you're depressed, if you're remorseful, if you're anxious, if you're in the past, most of us spend most of our time in the past and the future. Very few people know how to control their mind,
Right.
so that we could be here
Exactly.
where life exists. So, anyways, if we're mad, we're angry, we're remorseful, we're anxious, we're whatever we are. Change your thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Change your thoughts.
Change your
That's where the
thoughts.
feelings come from. If we're not feeling good, our spirit is talking to us, saying, "Whoa, your mind is in the wrong spot, pal. Get back to here." And all that stuff doesn't exist in the present moment.
Absolutely.
Everything I just mentioned, anxiety, what's going to happen in the future, what happened in the past, none of that exists in the present moment. But very few people can be here. Because our mind doesn't want it, our ego doesn't want us to be here.
Exactly.
It doesn't know how to be here. So it brings us there.
We have to train it.
And so through meditation, which is what I learned, a lot of people say, why do you meditate? You read a lot about, you do it to feel good, you do it to feel calm, you do it to whatever. Well, yeah, that's true. But the primary reason for meditation is to learn how to control your mind. When you're really doing it correctly, and you're able to silence that little squirrel that goes on up there, you can be here. And guess what's here? Happiness.
The joy.
It's the only place that exists is right here, right now.
That's well said. And it's also taking an active role. When we meditate, we're actively controlling our mind. And then from there, action. Then we can take an action to continue to perpetuate. And you also said something a minute ago about avoiding people who do bring you down. There are so many people who are stuck in the hamster wheel of negative thought, negativity, and why there's just woe is me. And we can give them nuggets, but it's up to them to choose to change. We cannot control anyone. The only person that we should strive to be better than is ourselves. So we are controlling ourselves. We are adapting and adopting a new mindset that is based on today. I think it's Mike Dooley, Thoughts Create Things, the Tut books. Thoughts create things. Total thoughts from the universe or something like that. Totally unique thoughts.
Everything begins with a thought.
Absolutely.
If you're not
so.
feeling good, change your thought.
Right.
I know it sounds easy, but that's really what has to happen.
Exactly.
We can control our minds. We can control our thoughts.
Right.
And you mentioned something that's interesting as it relates to Mother Earth. When we go into the woods, first of all, if you're not feeling good, take a walk in the woods.
That's right.
Anybody knows that.
That's right.
How many of us really do it? But having said that, when we go into the woods and we see a short tree, or we see a brown tree, or we see a white tree, or we see a crooked tree, or we see a tree bending over, or we see a huge tree, or we see a bush, or we see this or that or the other thing, what do? We typically say, "Oh," and move on. Now, when we go and see people, and we see a little people, a big people, a fat people, a skinny people, a people with this, a people with that, what do? We judge. Why? Would society be such a much better place if we could see people as trees?
Right. And come from a place of non-judgment.
Correct.
Because the judging comes from our own experience, someone who has judged us. And so therefore we have this rule that we have to do it a certain way. And there truly in the universe, there are rules of nature. There are energies of nature, but we create our own destiny based on the actions that we take that are based on the thoughts that we think. I often will take people into a progression into what is a potential future when they are doing a hypnotic trance, and they will see a future that inspires them. And in that process, it's a potential future. It's not written in stone. However, it's a future that just may be. If they change their thoughts and change their actions and go in that direction, then it will be. And it goes back to the message that we were saying before, the difference between belief and knowing. When you know, I know that this book is published. We are working on book 2. Book 2 has to get out there, so I am driven to get this next book. I know it's going to get done, so therefore it will. No question. When? That's another story. But we have to come from a place of knowing what's right in our hearts, in our bones, in our minds. And when we can get all that congruency working, then we can shift our direction to be more intent, more intention, and go towards the goals, the intention of our desire, which is basically, simply, to be happy.
Intent coming from the heart.
Yes.
Not from the head.
No.
Strong vibration from this area.
Right.
That is the voice that the spirit world hears the loudest.
Exactly.
Intent.
Yeah. And feeling it in the heart. Many people get all stuck in the mind. They're too in their mind and bringing the mind down. And you still have to, we're on this planet. We've got to feed ourselves. We've got to pay our bills. We still have to use the mind. But the mind should be a tool that we use. It should not be our driver. The heart, that heart-mind connection brings the balance. When we think with our mind to strategize, that is great. Yet, when we set our sails with our heart, that is where we're coming full circle. Yes. So I'm thrilled to be talking with Kent Buschle, and you are listening to Inspiring Hope with Lois Herman. We're on every Sunday morning at 9 o'clock on WSMN 1590. You can also hear the replays on my Facebook pages, and actually Chronicles of Hope, The Messages, and Lois Herman, Success Coach. We are playing all of these shows are on there. You can also hear it on the WSMN1590.com website. So it's available. All these are recorded. You can listen to many different people who've been on, and you'll be able to listen to Kent over and over again. And I'm thrilled to have him on. Okay. So what is in the future for you, Kent? You've got a circle coming up next week, right? The third Thursday?
Next Sunday? The January one, yeah.
Okay. And we have also an Inspiring Hope community that meets the first Tuesday and the third Thursday. It is an online community. We have people from across the United States that join us. We hope you'll join us too at chroniclesofhope.net. So thank you so much. We enjoyed having you on. Meanwhile, look up, stay positive, and be the light in someone's day.